Hello and welcome to the Try Talking Sport podcast hosted by me, Joanne Murphy. Whether you are an athlete, adventurer, endurance enthusiast or simply have an interest in sport, you have come to the right place for inspiration, encouragement, motivation and, as always, plenty of entertainment. It's Women in Sport Week this week and it was International Women's Day yesterday, so there is lots going on here. Last week we partnered with Gillian Mooney, a performance nutritionist with Team Joe Barr, for our female performance nutrition event, and it was a super session. I really learned a lot from it and have plenty of changes and tweaks to make to my own nutrition to get the most from my training and recovery. On Monday this week, we launched the new Try Talking Sport website and the Performance Hub. If you haven't had a chance to check them out, take a little nosy around www.trytalkingsport.com and let me know what you think. The Performance Hub still needs plenty of love and content. We'll be building out the platform over the coming weeks and months. You can expect lots of great articles, a new podcast, online and in-person events and lots more over the coming weeks. Big shout out to the team at Proactive Design and Marketing in Galway, especially Jess and Melissa, who did all the design work and web development, taking my vision for the site and making it even better. The Sandymount Night Run took place last night. It was great fun and lovely to see so many people out and about enjoying the event and the atmosphere. I'm delighted to be working with the Bear Events team on a few of their events this year, so you'd never know where you may hear or see me over the coming months. Speaking of Bear Events, we have partnered with them to celebrate Women in Sport Week, so be sure to check out our socials for the chance to win an entry for your favourite female for the Joe Duffy BMW Clontarf Half Marathon and 5 Mile taking place on the 2nd of July. Plus, we have a few other tricks up our sleeve and plans in place with Bear Events, so #watch this space. There are lots of prizes to be won this week across the Try Talking Sport Facebook and Instagram, so be sure to check them out. I'm hosting the Triathlon Ireland Women in Sport webinar this evening at 8 p.m. with a super lineup of panellists. It is sure to be insightful, informative and entertaining. You can find out more and sign up to the free session on www.trytalkingsport.com. Finally, don't forget we have a 25% discount on all Castle Race Series events in Ireland and the UK for the 2022 season. Use the code TTS252022 on www.castleraceseries.com to avail of the discount. Plus, we have 15% discount for all Nuasand products on www.nuasand.com. Use the code TTS15 to get the discount. I'm still religiously using the CBD Muscle Gel and I love it. I haven't much training done the last week or so. I did get on the bike once or twice last week, but that was about the height of it. 2 weekends ago, I took part in the final event of the Galway-based cycling club Bog Trials, and the following day went to Newport in Mayo for the Rocky Mountain High gravel race and had great fun at both events. I can confirm I'm addicted to the gravel bike. It was such a good impulse buy and I can't wait to go on some more adventures over the coming months. I'm off to Lanzarote this Monday for a few days with the gang from Galway Tri Club and also taking part in Oliver Harkin's warm weather training camp at Sands Beach. I'm sure it will be some shock to the system considering my complete lack of running and swimming in recent weeks, but I am looking forward to kickstarting some triathlon training and enjoying some work and play in the sunshine. Now to this week's guests. Sharpe and Mia Griffin, Irish professional cyclists, joined me on the show to share stories from their careers in cycling. Representing Ireland on the track and racing with the Belgian-based Irish Continental Team IBCT, they have embraced a life in cycling that has seen them excel in a sport that only a few years ago wasn't even on their radar. Mia, a former Kilkenny camogie player, came to cycling through the Cycling Ireland Talent Transfer Programme and swapped her hurley and slitter on the GAA pitch for a bike, fast racing and an indoor track just 5 years ago and has never looked back. Alice is a swimmer turned triathlete who took to crit racing before trying her hand at track racing. Both cyclists now race as part of the Irish track cycling team and as part of the IBCT on both the road and the track. Alice, the former national Irish road champion in 2019, and Mia, who won bronze in the individual pursuit in the Under-23 European Track Championships in 2020, are part of the Irish team who claimed a bronze medal in the 4K women's team pursuit at the European Track Cycling Championships in Switzerland last year, setting a new national record in the process, along with teammates Kelly Murphy and Emily Kay. Currently based in Belgium, Mia and Alice are living, training and racing together as they pursue their passion for cycling and focus on getting to Paris in 2024. The teammates have a friendship and camaraderie that sees them encourage, inspire and support each other to be the best that they can be in sport and in life. Watch this space. These Irish girls are powering up the pedals to go full gas in pursuit of their goals and dreams. Now grab a cuppa and enjoy the show. Sharpe and Mia Griffin, welcome to the Try Talking Sport podcast, ladies. How are you and where are you?
Hello, we're in Belgium at the minute. We're just here doing some of the spring classics. So we had opening weekend there last weekend. So yeah, we've been pretty busy.
Yeah, start of our season.
Mia, what's in the cup?
It's just some tea in the cup. Well, I have another cup with some coffee as well. So I have the two cups going at the same time.
And is it Barry's or Lion's tea?
Oh no, you'll be disappointed. It's only a mint tea.
I actually think we should cut this interview short right now.
Oh God.
We will forgive you. I'm delighted to have you both on the show. We are celebrating International Women's Day and Women in Sport Week in Ireland. So who better to be on the show than two of Ireland's top professional female cyclists representing Ireland on the international stage. But it hasn't always been cycling that you have both embraced as sports. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your background in sport generally and how you ended up in cycling?
For me, I was a camogie player for many years since I was a young girl. I suppose it's really big in Kilkenny, so it was nearly had to be done. I had a hurl in my hand since I was really young. But then I kind of stumbled across cycling by chance in my Leaving Cert year. There was an advertisement by Cycling Ireland for a talent transfer programme that was testing girls and bringing them into track cycling. So I didn't even really know what track cycling was. So I had to like search up YouTube videos to see like what I was getting myself into. Then kind of learned how to ride a bike on the track first, and then have veered off towards the road, and I'm doing track as well. But yeah, it was kind of a whirlwind of a transition and a fast learning curve.
Yeah, I was going to say, so you are 23 now. So when were you brought onto that Cycling Ireland talent programme?
I was 18 at the time.
In 5 years, you have excelled in the sport of cycling.
More or less.
And can I ask, I suppose with camogie, we know that there's a lot of explosive power, a lot of running, a lot of high speed sprinting on the pitch. Do you think, did that transfer well across into cycling? And is that where you already had a good grounding in fitness and explosive power to go across into cycling? Would that have been part of the success at the start?
Yeah, I think for sure. Like I definitely would have been stronger at the fast parts, maybe on the sprints and stuff. And I would have really, really struggled on the endurance part. Anything that was over an hour, I just would have died. And like I'm still trying to build up endurance, but I've come a long way in the past number of years. But definitely I would have been stronger at the more explosive aspects at the start for sure.
I'm going to come back and ask you all about the terminology around track cycling, because if I'm like anybody else who doesn't really understand it, we definitely want to find out a bit more about what each of the bits of terminology mean around Madison and team pursuit and individual pursuit. But before we do that, I want to talk to you, Alice, about your career in sport and how you ended up in cycling. Were you not a swimmer and a triathlete before you became a cyclist?
Yeah, so I swam since I was like maybe 8 or so, competing in clubs and galas and all. And then I started doing triathlon when I was like 11, which was, pretty young. And when I was doing it then, it was really like super niche. And like, I remember saying it to people and they'd be like, what even is that? And I'd be like, oh, first you swim, then you bike, and then you run. So it's definitely gotten way more popular now. Like, I think it's pretty common for people to have done a triathlon now. But yeah, I did that from 11 until 21 or so. And that was my final year at university, and I just started doing some local crit races, and I was doing it to like improve my bike part for the triathlon, because I was doing like the drafting races, so I thought it'd help. But I actually just was enjoying it way more than doing the triathlon, and I could kind of see, I think I'd gotten stuck at a level in triathlon, and I could see a pathway then in the cycling. And my dad's from Northern Ireland, so I was lucky enough to be able to pick if I would ride, like who I could ride for. And that, led me on to join the Team Pursuit team, which is with Mia. And now we're on the same road team too.
So is it just the two of you from Ireland on the same road team? You're with IBCT, or are there more of the Irish girls on the road team as well?
Yeah, there's also Fiona and Megan. They're away at the moment, so they haven't been with us in the last 2 races. But they'll join us for the rest of the season.
But out of the track girls, it's just me and Alice on this road team. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know where to go with this interview in terms of what we'll talk about, because I really want to know more about the whole track side, but then I want to know more about the road side as well. So I think based on my lack of knowledge on track and team pursuit and all of that, I think we'll go down that road for the moment and see where it leads us.
Yeah.
Explain to me, what is team pursuit?
So there's 4 riders on the track and we cover a 4K distance, and really the aim is to cross the line in the fastest time. 3 riders only need to cross the line, and the time is taken on the 3rd rider to cross the line.
Yeah.
So the 4 of you are going around the track together, literally behind each other.
Yeah, and then it gets a lot more complicated then when you go into the depths of it. So basically you have 4 riders, but each rider has, I would say, very different attributes that they bring to the team. For example, well, Alice is a very versatile rider. I'd say she could go kind of anywhere really in the team, but usually the person who starts would be like the person who's the most like sprint type rider, and their job is to get off the line fast and get us up to speed. And then the girl who rides in second, she just has to carry that speed. And then the girls who ride in 3 and 4, they do like the long pulls and at a very steady pace.
They're kind of like the donkeys who do the big grunt work, and the other girls would be the speed that gets the team up to speed. Yeah.
So what positions do you ride in then on the team?
So Mia rides in either 1 or 2, and I'm usually 3. But these like positions are kind of set in stone, but also they can change depending on injury or who other members of the team are riding on.
As you're cycling around the track, are you slipping in and out of the slipstream then? So the rider number 2 will move into position 1 and rider 1 will slip back to 4?
Yeah.
Or kind of like a chain gang. Is that the way it works?
Yeah. I suppose that's the like most comparable thing. So you change on the banking, which is the steepest part of the track there. So you'd peel up there at the end of your turn, and you slot back from rider 1 to rider 4 at the back of the line when your turn is finished. And that's usually established before the ride starts. You'll say, Mia, you're doing an opening lap, which is going to be 2 1/4 laps of the track. And then she'd change and pass on to the next rider, and she gets back into the line there.
Are you all mic'd up together talking to each other, or is there a coach in your ear, or is this all just literally roaring at each other on the track?
There's a coach that's at the side of the track, and he's calling lap splits. We're just like watching him, and if he won't say many things to us because we're not going to be able to take so much in when it's such a short space of time. So usually it has to come from one of the riders. So usually we normally get, say, one rider like Alice to make the calls, so that there's just one person making the calls, because otherwise it can get really chaotic. And we have a few cues, and one of them is steady, one of them is up and hold.
Okay. And what sort of speeds do you get up to on the track?
What do we ride at, like 50k an hour in the TP?
I think so.
Something, I think.
To be honest, we just go to lap splits. I have no idea how fast we should go.
Correct me if I'm wrong, there's no brakes on these bikes?
No. Yeah, which actually, I think it sounds more scary than it actually is. It makes you're able, especially in team pursuit, it's very predictable really what's happening. Like we know each other so well as well. You're able to see in their body language, like if somebody in front of you is tired, you're able to kind of predict the speed. So it's not dangerous in that aspect, and also you're not changing gear. So really, unless somebody absolutely has no legs and dies, then the speed is always constant or within a few.
And then the other question I have for you is around the heart rate and numbers. Do you wear heart rate monitors?
Yeah, we do. But you wouldn't be able to look at that during the race. You're actually not allowed the computer to be there in front of you. So it's important for analysing the ride afterwards. We'd look at power and heart rate, but during the race it doesn't.
And I think usually looking at the heart rate after a TP would just tell you, oh, you were full gas, which we'd be like, I know. So I think a better indicator, I think, of the TP would be watts. So we have power meters on the track bikes, and then we can analyze what watts we did while we were on the front, because when you're on the front of the team pursuit, you're doing a lot more watts than when you're in the wheels.
And then other things come into that, like the air pressure and all of these things, like contribute to as to why the ride was faster or slower. It doesn't. Yeah,
and I guess your gear and your aerodynamics and your fit and everything on the bike is hugely important in ensuring that you get the maximum benefit from your position as well.
Yeah, for sure. Like we have put some time into making sure that our CDA is quite good. It definitely wouldn't be up there with anything that is the best in the world, but I think we have decent CDAs.
Okay, so tell me what a CDA is, or do I sound really stupid?
No, a CDA is basically, it's a number which is the value for how much space you're taking up when you're cutting through the air. So it's basically the value for how aero you are.
Okay, I learn something new every day. I'm learning lots today. Alice, the move from, say, triathlon crit racing into track racing, was it scary move? And then Mia, you pretty much learned how to cycle a bike in your adult life on the track. Were you scared? Because I would be absolutely shitting it going at 50 kilometers an hour on the tail of another girl who's doing 50 kilometers an hour with no brakes.
Yeah, I don't know. I think sometimes the naivety kind of carries you a long way. I think I guess I'm different to Mia. I knew how to ride a bike, but in my first track session, I was just kind of thinking like, oh, how hard can it be? Like I can ride a bike. But I do remember being up on the boards being like, how the hell am I going to get back down here and like cling onto the wall and unclip? So yeah, I remember thinking like, well, this is just me for forever now, just flinging around the boards here. And especially there in our first World Cups, like we were taken to big competitions very early, like in our track careers, and in the warm-ups and all, you'd be on the track with I guess 30 or so other riders from other nations, and we'd be in our team pursuit line, so you're already taking up a large portion of the track. You need to try and move as a four, so it's kind of a big snaky train moving around. So I think that was kind of stressful and
terrifying,
but it was kind of like you were put in at the deep end, so we learned quickly. I guess it was do or die.
A baptism of fire.
Yeah, I remember the first track sessions, like we were so bad technically. the people who came in for talent transfer, that like every time we went to a track session we'd be like, oh, I hope one of us doesn't crash today. There was always like one crash at the training session, and like somebody who just like slipped down from the banking because they weren't going fast enough or something. And also, I remember me and Alice's first Madison. We were so scared before it. We didn't like tighten our back sprockets on properly, and we went to go up on the track, and both of our sprockets just fell off. And we had to go back into the track center and then tighten them up. And we were just shaking. We forgot to put our gloves on, which is like key when you're doing a track race. We were just shitting ourselves, and we went up and we did the race, and it was an outdoor track, so it was quite like bumpy and scary and everything. We survived. We came fifth just from avoiding the whole carnage of it. I don't think we didn't do any attacks. We just tried to survive.
Yeah.
So you brought a new word into my world when you mentioned Madison. So we've had the team pursuit. So tell us, what's the Madison? Because that's two riders.
Yeah, so you're paired up. Quite often me and Mia would ride together, and I suppose if you know what a points race is or anything, you're trying to score points collectively together, and you'd be transferring the speed between one another as you change, like with a hand sling, and then there are sprints every 10 laps, and so you'd be trying to get points in those, and if you're a good rider, then you'd be setting the fastest person up to take those sprints. And the point.
Okay, so in the team pursuit, it's 4 kilometers, and there's only 4 riders, say from Ireland, and 4 riders from France on opposite sides of the track. It's only 2 teams on the track.
Yeah.
So how many laps of the track is 4 kilometers?
16.
That's 16.
Okay, so then you move to the Madison. You talk about the hand sling. So that's a rider pulling another rider and giving them the whoosh to go through. So how many laps of the track do you do if you do sprints every 10 laps?
120.
120 laps of the track.
Sometimes races are a bit shorter, but
sometimes they can be 80, but like at Worlds it's 120 and at the Olympics.
And how long does it take to do a team pursuit race in time versus a Madison race in time?
So our best time for TP, which we really want to break now, because is
We're cursed.
4:21.1, and we've done 21 like 4 times, but we 0.1, so we need to go under that. But for a Madison, I think for the women it's like 30 to 40 minutes.
Yeah, so they're quite different in the kind of requirements for each race, but they do kind of complement each other, because you're still doing a lot of endurance training to be able to do the team pursuit, to be able to produce the power for that amount of time. But yeah, just even mentally, they're very different races. Like the team pursuit is so, you know exactly what's going to happen. Like you've been told your lap splits you need to ride, you know what watts you need to ride, the cadence and the turns that you're going to be doing. So it's very, as long as you've done it in training, more or less that same thing will be replicated on race day. Whereas Madison is so much more unpredictable. Obviously, there are more people on the track, which is a variable in itself. And then, you don't know how each team will ride those races. Maybe someone goes to try and take a lap and you can't do anything about that. And your strategy that you've thought of before doesn't work out on the day. So, I think it's exciting to be able to do both. But they're very different skill sets.
So say in the Madison, you mentioned you'd have your tactics, but what about having to have tactics on the fly and how you communicate what's going to happen? Or is it literally just go hell for leather again for that 30 to 40 minutes?
It definitely, because we did a Madison in Portugal, I think was it a month and a half ago now. But while we were riding, Alice was saying, okay, go for this sprint now, or relax now. And the only time that we meet each other is when we're going for handsling. So we have like maybe a second or so, maybe less than a second, to try and like communicate with each other. Yeah. And I'm just like watching for how fast Alice is riding and where she is in the bunch, so that I can come in at the right time to change with Alice. And then from there we do our quick communication, like go for this sprint, don't go for this sprint, try and get 5 points here, whatever, things like that.
And I think the more time you spend together, like we know each other so well that I'd be able to tell if Mia's going well. If I could see she was dying, or the same for me, then I wouldn't need to say anything to her. We'd be able to kind of read each other's body language and know that, okay, we'll just chill now and we'll go for the sprint after that.
That was my next question, actually, was going to be, the dynamic between the two of you and knowing each other's body language, and that, I suppose, non-verbal communication that you would have between you, whether it's in the team pursuit aspect or in the Madison. It must play a huge role in the success of the team.
100%. I think me and Alice know each other really well in that aspect, and we definitely, in the team pursuit as well, we can tell when one of us is on a good day or whether we're having like an average day, and then we can adapt to that really quickly.
I think it's one of the strengths of the whole of the team pursuit program, and how we've been able to achieve what we were able to last season. I think it was just everyone gives 100% and trusts each other, and that's what you need in team pursuit, because you're really emptying yourself every time you're on the front, and when you're getting back into the line, you need to know that the next person is going to give that level of commitment, and while you're in the wheels you're able to recover. So I'd say trust and knowing each other inside out is a huge part of that. And
it's definitely for like simple things, like say if I'm doing a change, Alice is always behind me, so I know how fast I can slot back in, because I know like where her wheel is going to be in comparison to the person behind her, and it's always the same. So you can always trust that, and then you don't have to think when you're changing. You can just slot back in with basically not even looking, and just have like an instinct of that.
It's fascinating.
I hope what we're saying is making sense, because in your head I think there's a lot of things that like
maybe it's a bit weird.
No, not at all, because I know we were joking before we started recording the podcast about how I was Googling Madison and team pursuit and individual pursuit, and I was a little bit stressed out about my lack of knowledge coming in to talk to you, because obviously I wanted to know a little bit about all of the bits and pieces, but you've explained everything in simple language and simple terms that even for somebody like me who didn't have a clue, I feel like I now understand it, and that when I watch it again, again and I go back and I watch a video or I look at a race that you're doing, that I'll actually understand what's happening. You have a little bit of knowledge of road racing, a little bit of knowledge of ultra racing, gravel bike racing, but this stuff on the track, it's just so different to everything else that we do outside that it is actually fascinating. I want to ask you about the amount of training that you would do together as a team of 4. Now, I know that you finished in 5th last year at the World Championships, but I want to ask you about riding with the other girls and how you duplicate that relationship that you as a pair have, Alice and Mia, when you are riding with the other 2 riders who are on the team at the time. So, and I know it hasn't been the same extra 2 riders at every single race that you've done. So how do you duplicate that relationship that you have with the extra riders outside of the 2 of you, if that makes sense?
Yeah. So I think our relationship comes from the whole group. So we've created a very good culture, I think, within the 5 of us. So there's me, Mia, Kelly, Lara, and Emily. And we've worked hard with our previous coach, Brian, and also the psychologist to really create a strong culture and identity, which if any new riders come in, we're kind of inducting them into this positive culture where we're looking out for one another. And I think the main thing really is that we expect 100% from ourselves, but also from one another. And if I feel like someone isn't giving 100%, it's okay to question that and ask why they're not, and if there's anything you can do to help them. So I think we have quite a high level of maybe criticism, but it comes from a place of this, constructive. This is what we need to call out in order to improve the team. So I think that just makes us very honest with one another, and that's ultimately what you need to be able to do to go faster.
And I guess if you can't deal with the pressurized questions around constructive criticism, how are you going to deal with the pressure of the team pursuit or the Madison or individual pursuit, whatever it is that you're doing, or even if you're road racing? Speaking of road racing, talk to me about where that's at the moment and what you're doing.
Yeah, so we're riding with our road team at the moment, which is it's an Irish Continental team, but we're Belgian based. So we're doing the spring classics now at the moment, and the season has just started. So we have a number of races to do.
On the cobbles
cobbles, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
On the cobbles,
gravel bikes, anybody?
Steep climbs.
Yeah, no gravel bikes. We don't have that level of comfort.
Yeah. And I must say, from the start of the season, the bunch has been crazy. The girls have been insane. It's been really, really
aggressive
racing.
Mm-hmm.
What's changed?
I don't know what people are doing this year, but they seem to just be coming into the season I want to prove myself.
Yeah.
And you can really feel it in the bunch. I think just even the safety in the bunch is not really a priority for people. I think there's been a lot of crashes, a lot of mechanicals, things like that, you name it.
How do you deal with the pressure going into the road race or the pressure going into the team pursuit races? Is there extra pressure when you're racing for your country versus racing for your team?
I think it's different pressure. I feel on the track it's very high pressured because especially in the team pursuit, the race is so short and every moment is so critical. If you mess that up, the whole ride is kind of ruined. Whereas on the road, it's a little bit more forgiving. Obviously, if you miss that crucial breakaway, then that's race over. But there's other members of the team who may be able to close the gap and those mistakes can be kind of covered up a bit more, or there's time to fix it. So I guess it's a different level of pressure. But no, I think whatever jersey you pull on, you want to do the best for yourself and to represent that organization the best that you can. But definitely different pressure when you hear those TP beeps. There's literally no stress like it.
I think it's just the track is the road, just heavily concentrated, and it's just the pressure is just from things everyone is in the track center. So you're doing your warm-up in the track center, and then you're sitting in some chairs and you're waiting to go up for your race.
You feel like all eyes are on you then. Nobody's actually looking at you because they're all doing their own warm-up. But it's, like you're saying, it's very intense.
It's very intense.
How do you deal with that intensity? What's going through your head when you're sitting there, the four of you are sitting there ready to go, you're in your Irish colours, there's national records ready to be broken, there's podiums to be stepped upon, there's races to be won. What's going through your head when you're sitting there?
I think we train really hard, and then you just sit on the start, like sometimes you're just on the start line and you just calm just flows over you because you're like, I literally couldn't have done any more.
The only time I ever feel nervous is if I know we haven't prepared and we've never been to a competition and not been prepared. So like Mia saying, you almost are like, well, we've trained for this. This is the moment to show what we've been training for and get it all out there.
And you're almost just like, let's just do this now.
Get it out. That's Mia's pre-race vibe for sure.
That's what
she's like a bulldog coming out.
She's
like a terrier.
She is. No, if you get her too hyped before the race, because she's quite often the starter, we'll not see her again. She'll be like,
rev it up there, Mia.
Oh God. Yeah. Before Europeans.
Oh God.
We had a new coach. He
didn't know Mia yet.
He didn't know me at all. And he put me in another race just before our final for the bronze medal ride-off at the Europeans. And the race he put me in was such a crashy race. I was just at the back of it like, please don't crash before the team pursuit. Like, I did not give a shit about this race. I was just like, I just want to do the team pursuit. So I didn't race the race. And I came down and I had so much adrenaline. The TP race was then like 40 minutes later. So I didn't have to do much of a warm up because I already had warmed up for the other race. But then when I got on the start line for the team pursuit, I was hyped like nothing else.
Shaking.
I was like shaking. We went and the beeps went down and it was like beep 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 beep, and I did a false start. Alice and everyone had to like stay calm, so I had to like calm myself down. Like, you can only do one false start. It's not like athletics when you're like just eliminate it straight away. So then we had to redo it. And then we set off and it was fine. But to say that I did not feel a thing during that race is like literally no exaggeration. I was like numb from being hyped.
It was an important ride. So but anyway, it didn't matter. It all worked out and we got the props. So
is every ride an important ride in team pursuit?
Yeah, definitely. I think as well, it's different to road racing where there's not as many opportunities to race. So every time you do race, you want it to be a perfect ride. And it quite often is leading to something. So those Nations Cups are the things that enable you to get into Europeans and Worlds, which ultimately qualify you for the Olympics. So they're all like high pressure races in that sense.
Yeah. And also like the first ride of the day, you have to do a good ride to get into the second ride, and you have to do a good ride in the second one to get into the third one. And you want to do 3 rides
to make it worth your while because they're only 4 minutes long.
Exactly. It's a big journey otherwise.
And you might have gone to like Hong Kong or something to ride your bike for 4 minutes. Yeah.
Well, I guess it's better than running on a track for 10 seconds.
Not true.
Yeah. Still though, in your road racing team, how many women are on the team?
I think there's 12 of us.
Is there 12?
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, a few Germans. Where else is even everybody from? An Australian rider, a British rider,
and Finnish rider.
Yeah. It's really nice actually, all the different cultures.
And did I see you in kit for track cycling in your road cycling team's gear?
Yeah. So sometimes for track competitions, they're called C1s and C2s, and so these races you don't usually represent your country in those because they're point scoring competitions. So you go to the C1s and C2s to be able to score points to be able to ride at the Nations Cups, which is when we would be wearing our Irish jerseys.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Very complicated.
That definitely I'm not delving into, right?
Yeah.
What I would like to know is, how do you get to the Olympics?
Well, I guess for every discipline it's different, but for team pursuit, you need to finish in, I think it's still remaining the same, the top 8 in the world rankings on the closing date before the Olympics. So I think it's usually the World Championships before.
And have we our eyes on Paris 2024?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. That's the goal.
Are all roads leading to Paris, or all tracks leading to Paris at the moment? Like, where do you draw the line in terms of your road career and your track career? Like, how do you balance that as we get closer to qualification for the Olympics? Your team in IBCT is going to want certain performances from you, but your federation, Cycling Ireland, and yourselves are going to want to wear the green jersey for Ireland in the Olympics. So how do you balance that little bit of a conundrum?
So I guess we're lucky with our road team. They're very understanding of like our commitments with the track, because to be honest, that's our main priority. The road kind of supplements, like it's obviously good training and fitness for that. So yeah, I think Ken, who is the manager of that, understands. He works with Belgian cycling, so he understands what we need to do in order to qualify for the Olympics on the track. So yeah, I guess we're fortunate. They both work well together. I guess as we come closer to the Olympics, it will become clear if we are going to be able to qualify the team pursuit. And if we aren't, then we can focus more back onto the road racing. I guess it's nice to have that as a backup. It works well together.
Yeah, I suppose the road definitely does complement the track. So the guys that coach us for the track are very motivated to have us riding on the road as well.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned earlier, Mia, about your needing to build endurance because your explosive power was quite good. So how do you fare on the road in the bunch with the girls? Would Alice be slightly ahead of you, or would she be pulling you along, or would it be vice versa? Or how does that all work in the team?
Yeah, I would say that Alice has a very strong engine, and that wouldn't be my strongest point. It's definitely getting better now. But yeah, still something that I need to work on. And often like Alice does help me out in the bunch, and she's always a good wheel to follow, and like I trust her wheel, so, and she knows her way around the bunch, and I know that she's strong. So
well, I guess we work well together again on the road, because we know each other's wheels and body language well from the track. So we've been working well together on doing lead outs for the sprints and stuff in some of the races. So
I forgot to ask, actually. I know track came first for you, Mia, and then how did you end up in the road? And then Alice, what was your journey to track and road?
I kind of ended up on the road because Brian thought that it would be good. And then I was like, oh, I actually really like this. It's quite fun. And then I was really bad in the road races at first, and used to always get dropped all the time, just constantly. And then I started to being dropped a bit less as I built better endurance, and I found a good team that was a club team, and then they turned into Continental team, and now get to do the biggest races in the world on the road. So yeah.
Alice, you came from triathlon to crit racing to road racing because you are former national champion here in Ireland. And then did the track pursuit stuff come?
Kind of a bit in between all of that. So I started doing the crit racing, and then I think I did a season where I still was honouring like a triathlon contract commitment, but I was also doing a lot more road racing. And at the end of that year, I was actually working at a World Cup, which Mia was their first World Cup. So I was the volunteer manager at this World Cup, and I was delivering these crates of water to their pen, to the Irish pen. And they just had a ride, and the ride hadn't gone that well. And I was speaking to one of the coaches, and I was like, I would love to do this. Like, I'd love to be in this team pursuit team. He was like, what, really? Like this, what just happened here on the track? And I was like, yeah, I'd love to. And anyway, this was in like maybe the October or something. And in the January, I joined them there on a track camp in Mallorca. And then I just, didn't leave and carried on. So I guess it was like a weird turn of events. And then at the same time, I was doing the road and the track stuff.
So what is it about cycling in general that has you now both as professional cyclists? What is it about the sport that you absolutely love that has seen you pursue this career?
I just think it's really addictive.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
I feel like we're in so deep now as well. Like, I have to see this through. Like, you put in so much work that if you have one bad day, you just think, there's going to be another good day, and it's all worth it. Like when we won that bronze there in Grenchen, I think just all of the sacrifice and everything finally felt like it was worth it. Like, you could see the fruits of your labor and everything.
Yeah, we were just waiting for that break for a long time, and Brian and Tommy had been working on it for just so long, and then it just it just eventually came out. And then once you see that, it's just another thing that just kind of hooks you. And
I guess you're chasing that feeling again.
And you're like, I want that again.
And was there a sense of relief as well as pride and celebration when you took that bronze medal? Because that was a massive achievement to get.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, when we first started this program, a lot of people at home didn't believe we would ever be good enough. And I remember the first time we competed, everyone said how awful we were and how people said it was embarrassing actually that we were competing wearing the Irish jersey. And obviously that hurt, but you have to think that was literally first or second team pursuit we'd ever done. So you kind of have to push that to the side, know that you're working towards another goal that's in the future of the project was always for Paris. So for the last 5 or so years, we've been working on that. So I think it was just to get that medal was to prove those people wrong as much as it was for yourself and for the ultimate goal. So it was pretty special.
Yeah, it was good justification of like how hard we'd worked, and we built from absolutely nothing, from ground zero, from being like embarrassing to holding a European medal. Yeah, so it was cool.
And the fact that we don't have the facilities here for track cycling, we don't have a velodrome, it's massive to be on the world stage and to be finishing so high up in the rankings, both with your top 5 in Poland and bronze medal. Talk to me about bad days. We're full of estrogen, we're full of progesterone, we're full of PMT or PMS or whatever else we have as the days go on. How do you deal with your hormones on race day, on training days, when you have a bad day? It's not always the easiest thing to go out and do when your menstrual cycle is playing havoc with your head as well as the rest of your body. Lots of women listening in will want to know answers to how you deal with it on a professional level and how you don't let it affect you when you're going about your racing and your training.
This will be something that I'm really in tune with, and I'd be really regular on my cycle. So I know like when ovulation is and when I'm going to be feeling good and when I'm going to be feeling not as good. I think you just have to have the mindset that, there's people that have won Olympic medals at any stage of their cycle. And you just need to be mentally strong in your head that if you're not feeling good, you still got to do it.
Yeah.
So
your training's still there in your legs, so you will be able to produce it. But I guess that's easier said.
It's easier said than done, and like sometimes that's hard, but you have no choice. You can land on a bad day on your cycle on a big race, and if you train and you get used to training even on those bad days, then when it comes around and you land on a bad day, then you just have to get on with it. And I know some people have really bad pain as well, so it's not always simple.
Yeah.
So if you were men, I wouldn't be asking you the same question. We're female athletes, and these are things that are a natural occurrence in our lives until we hit a little bit of an older stage. In terms of boosting each other up when you're feeling down, is there anything, Mia, that you would do if Alice was in a bad mood? Is there anything you would do to kind of boost her or make her laugh, or Alice vice versa with Mia? Or, is there things that you would do for each other if somebody is just not having a good day?
Yeah, I think just like simple things, like if somebody's having a bad day, you just maybe bring their bike down from the track for them or something, or just like help them out in some way, like pump their like Alice would be pumping my tires or whatever when I'm like, I don't know, stressing out about something.
Yeah. And maybe we do a lot of things together as a whole team, and sometimes people want to just be left alone and maybe want to ride with their headphones on, and don't take that as a like, oh, they don't want to hang out with me. Like they just need a bit of time. So I guess just leave them off.
That was going to be my next question. Like, how do you break the bond that like, oh, it's me and Alice and Mia, and suddenly Mia's off on the track on her own, or Alice is on the track on her own, and they had a fight. Oh no, Mia just wants to listen to a cool podcast called Try Talking Sport.
Exactly.
I guess we're all pretty chill. We know each other very well, so I guess it becomes like siblings, doesn't it? You can say something to them and a minute later everyone will have forgotten about it.
Yeah, because me, Kelly and Alice would be in the house together as well, so
we live together as well.
We know when each other are in a bad mood as well, and you're like,
do you not kill each other?
sake.
No, we
She's so
actually
annoying
don't.
today.
And this year we all went on holiday together on our off season as well. We
Yeah.
can't get enough of each other.
With some of the other girls.
In the house, is there like a washing up rota? Who does the hoovering? Who tidies up, does the washing? Who does the cooking?
We're actually just pretty chill, aren't we?
We are. Well, Kelly is the bin man.
Oh yeah, Kelly's like our maintenance man, actually.
Kelly's the
Maintenance woman.
is the DIY.
Oh yeah.
I'd say Alice is like a good cook. Yeah, and I just like help out.
Yeah, Mia's the assistant to all of this.
She's the assistant cooking cleaner.
She's the director of operations, really. She's overseeing everything, making sure you're all doing the jobs.
Yeah,
exactly. So in a regular household, when you're renting or when you're sharing together with friends or buddies or whatever, there can be pressure points over stop leaving your dishes in the sink. So how does that transfer out to, we're professionals as well, racing together. I can't be cross with her for not washing up her Weetabix bowl after breakfast,
Yeah, I suppose sometimes things just like if you wanted to go to bed at a certain time, I think we just all have a general understanding of like what time that is. And
to be considerate of one another.
Be considerate. Yeah, because things like that would, when you're living together for so long, they definitely would
trigger you.
Trigger, that's the word. Yeah, trigger. Let's move away from triggering in the household and let's talk about some of the highlights that you have both experienced, either as individual riders or in a team. When you look back at what you've achieved so far, give me maybe one highlight each and maybe one thing that you're most proud of.
I think I'm very proud of all the things we've done in the team pursuit, definitely. And I think it's just really nice to be able to share that with the group. Like it's a very special feeling to have achieved something all together. But then also I was very proud to become the national champion. That was back in 2019 on the road. Like that was really special. I'd kind of messed up the race the year before that. And I really wanted to come back and kind of prove myself. And especially I'd been picked for worlds and things before that. And I felt like I needed to prove why I'd been picked for those races and show why I was racing in Europe and stuff. So that was very special.
For me, obviously our medal at Euros was so special, and that's one of my highlights. And also one that was really special for me was my first medal internationally, which was my under 23 Euros medal in the IP. I think because it was like the first time I was seeing, I can do good results with this, and like I'd worked so hard for that it was just like such a good day, really.
And it was an achievement like away from the team. I think that's also special because sometimes we all get clumped in as the same person, like it's just 4 people in the same helmet. So it's important to achieve things separately from the team as well, to have your own identity and feel proud of what else you can do.
And then you can bring that to the team. Because if you can have some evidence that you can do it on your own, then you can bring that to the team and everyone has their evidence, and then they can bring that together, and the confidence of the team rises.
I've asked you about your highlights and what you're most proud of, and I'm sure there are plenty of days where there are not highlights or that there are disappointments. So how do you deal with those, and how do you pick yourself back up from a disappointing day on the bike, whether that's a crash or a result that didn't go your way or something silly that might have happened that was beyond your control or within your control? How do you pick yourself up, whether you've crossed the finish line or not, on the day to be ready to go again the next day and the next day and the next day? Because you don't get a break. You have to keep going. This is your job.
That can be very difficult sometimes, and I think it's important to have people who you can talk to who love you and support you for not being an athlete. So maybe you call home and they still love you even though you haven't won the bike race, and they remind you that it isn't the end of the world. I think that's super important, especially for me. Like cycling is so consuming that it's easy to like lose any other sort of identity. Like we're away from home almost all of the time, so it's important to have that base at home that keeps you like grounded and reminds you that there's more to life.
Is it difficult being away from home?
Yeah, definitely. Sure. Yeah, I think we kind of go into kind of a hard shell, and you kind of, or I definitely try, and I don't even really think about being at home. Like I'm just like, this is what I'm doing and I'm here doing this. But then when I go home, I'm like, oh, I've really missed this. It was so nice to be in my bed. So nice. I love my family. But I guess it's just part of the job. And I mean, it sounds silly because we get to spend so much time in Mallorca and people would kill to do that. And it's the most beautiful place. But then also we are there to work. We aren't there on holiday. So to be honest, we don't really see the island. We go to the track or we go and do our ride. The only other thing we do is go to a Roski, which is the supermarket, and then we're sleeping or eating. So
yeah,
we're probably not living the life.
Yeah, I think
people think.
I think we kind of have a bit of a monk lifestyle, but
little hermits.
I think we've embraced that, I suppose, when we're abroad. Obviously it's hard, but I think we have each other as well, and I think if we didn't have each other it would be a lot harder.
And Mia, do you miss the camogie?
Sometimes yeah, like I think in a few years I'd love to just go back and just try it out again and be like, I don't know, I think I'd get broken up, I'd say, because I wouldn't have the same I probably wouldn't have the same like base of like strength or anything. I'd probably be thrown around the place. But
you probably have more of the, I'm going to say the killer instinct, but I'm going to say you'd probably have more of the drive maybe and the passion that's been instilled in you in cycling as well. Like you almost have to have, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is.
I think you just fight, don't you?
The lack of fear. Like you wouldn't have any fear to tackle for the ball or to catch a ball or slitter or.
I think that was never my problem.
It was never your issue anyway.
Say that. Mia already rides a bike with no fear. She doesn't.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. Okay, we'll scrap that.
That was already my problem. I was a bit bad for that on the pitch.
You mentioned there that you live the lives of a hermit or a monk and you don't really get to enjoy Mallorca or the beautiful landscape when you're over there. So what do you do for downtime when you're not cycling or thinking about cycling or cycling to cycling? What are you doing?
Say we watch way too much Netflix and scroll through Instagram way too much. Sitting around drinking coffee and gossiping.
Yeah.
No, Mia's very good and she's studying now. So
yeah, which sometimes it's like it's hard to do when you're tired. I just make myself do it sometimes because I find it good to have something else because all the other girls are educated fully. So and I came to cycling just when I was done my leaving cert, so I never got the chance to go to college. So I'm doing it remotely now.
I'm even more impressed with you now that I hear all of this, that you're trying to balance cycling full-time and studying as well on top of it.
Yeah, but I think, I don't know, for me, when I started it kind of lifted a weight off my shoulders, because as soon as I started, I just felt way more relaxed, because I just had that worry all the time that like I was going to just cycle and then I was going to retire from cycling and then I'd have absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And the girls were already, like, Alice has her degree and so does Kelly, and yeah.
So what are you studying?
I'm studying strength and conditioning now.
So it's very relevant to the role that you're playing at the moment as well, which is good.
Yeah, it is. And then maybe I'll be able to go back and I'll be able to work with hurling teams and stuff as well.
Or a future cycling team in Ireland as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mentioned at the start of the podcast that it is International Women's Day this week, and it's also Women in Sport Week in Ireland. So what I'd love to know from you ladies is, either from at home or abroad, who's been the most inspirational female in your life? And it can be anyone. It can be a relative, it can be a friend, it can be a coach, it can be a colleague, it can be anyone at all.
I think this sounds very cheesy, but I'm always really inspired by the other girls on our Team Pursuit team. I think we've all seen each other go through the worst and the best days. So yeah, I think I'm inspired by watching everybody else's journey. And I think, when you work so closely with somebody, it makes everything seem more achievable. Like, I've watched Mia basically not really know how to ride a bike, and then, like she said, win her medal. Like, I was so proud of her that day to be able to go and show the world that she was able to do that. So yeah, very cheesy, but I think the other girls that I ride with.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, because I think it's really nice to see Alice and the girls do well and just be so happy for them, and just that just brings joy. And I think we have that in our team, and that's, I think, very rare.
Yeah, I agree, actually. And I think that's one of our strengths, isn't it? That we're genuinely happy for each other to do well.
And if somebody listening wants to follow in your footsteps, or somebody listening has a daughter who wants to follow in your footsteps, what advice would you give them?
I guess the usual thing where you need to love the thing that you're doing. I'm always really grateful to my parents for always allowing me to do whatever sport I wanted to do. And I did a lot of sports as I was growing up, but they never pushed me. Like, actually, I used to ride myself to swimming, which was at 5:30 in the morning. They never drove me. So, but that sounds mean, but I'm grateful that it had to come from within me. Like, I had to make myself go. So I guess, just give your children the opportunity, but don't be that pushy parent. And then for getting into track cycling, I guess people always think it's kind of a closed shop, but to be attending those C1s and C2s that we were talking about earlier, that's like the route to get in and get international experience, and just kind of say yes to every opportunity, I think.
Mia, you're nodding your head. Do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think it's just, don't be afraid to leave Ireland. Yeah, just get to Europe. I know Ireland's in Europe.
Mainland Europe.
Get over to Belgium, get over to France, get over to Spain. Just get out of Ireland and race.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for being guests on the show. I really enjoyed the podcast episode. I actually think we could have talked for another hour and a half. So we might have to come back and have another chat before Paris, after Paris. We might have to go to Paris anyway to do the interview. So thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. You're a breath of fresh air, totally inspirational. I think you're amazing at what you're doing, and keep it up, and the very best of luck with the season ahead, both on the road and on the track.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Joanne.
Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode. You can get in touch with any feedback or guest suggestions by emailing me on trytalkingsport@gmail.com. You can follow all of our activities and podcasts on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn and Instagram. Pop by, say hi, let me know what you think of the show. And if you are new to Try Talking Sport, please do check out some of our previous episodes. You will be both impressed and inspired by our guests. Finally, now that we've launched the new website, be sure to sign up to our new e-zine as well, featuring articles of interest, some great discounts and the inside track on supporting your triathlon and endurance sport journey, wherever it may take you. Sign up on www.trytalkingsport.com. It takes 30 seconds, and I promise I won't bombard your inbox with emails, just the good stuff. Until next time, stay safe, keep smiling, and remember to look for fun and adventure in every day.